Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Kansas City Jazz bassist Nsikoh. He is a regular these days at the Black Dolphin and the Green Lady Lounge, bringing his unique sound to the audiences. These days, he is also a student at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College under the sage direction of Mr. Jim Mair. He is originally from the true birth of jazz in Africa, and he came to the States to pursue his jazz dreams, and they are all coming to life now. An album is on the horizon in 2020, and he has some phenomenal insights into the KC scene and his career. So please get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I really dug the show at the Black Dolphin the other night, so I'm really excited to talk to you about your life and music.
Thank you very much, Joe. I really appreciate you taking the time as well and having me on the show. Such an honor for me.
Thank you, man. Hey, let's start off here, and since we've kind of begun with the live shows, talk to me a little bit about what you're doing as far as live shows are concerned around Kansas City.
I started becoming a full-time musician just 2 years ago, and now I play regularly at the Black Dolphin every Saturday, and John Scott, the owner, gave us some dates until March, and also I play regularly every Monday at the Green Lady Lounge with Matt Harper and Pat Adams on drums. So as far as that, I also subs for other bands and play with different other people around town. Some people will need me. They need a bass player, so I just go and play with them. And I pretty much love playing with anyone right now because I'm on a path of learning everything and absorbing as much as possible as I can.
So do you have any recordings that are on the horizon, anything that might be coming out?
Yeah, I'm working. Right now, I'm still a student at KCC. I'm studying with Jim Mair, and this is my last semester. And passing this semester, I will be working on releasing my trio album as well with the Reyes Brothers. But also, I started a band with Tyree Johnson, Josh Rem, and Vincent Orsolini. It's called Everyday Strangers, and we mostly write our own music, and we write our own music, do our own arrangements, and it's mostly based like jazz fusion, funk, and different style as well. And we're working on releasing our album this coming summer.
So let's get back to your beginnings and how it all began for you. Where were you born and raised, kind of how you got involved with music?
Well, I come from Cameroon, a country in Africa, in Central Africa, and I've been in the U.S. for about 5 years now. As far as my musical background, I don't come from a musical family at all. And my mom, she just loved art. She loved reading. She loved visual art as well. She loved comedy, movies. My dad as well. My dad knew a couple of songs on piano, but he never really practiced or did anything about piano. Neither did my mom, and nobody in my family basically is doing music at all. So I'm the only one who just decided to pursue that career because I just felt like compelled to be, going through that path. And I remember I started playing bass 10 years ago. I started on electric bass. At first, I didn't have any support, and then my dad, he saw me starting to play around, and I started making a name back in Cameroon. Douala is specifically the town where I come from. That's how, I started falling in love and surrounding myself with people who were doing great music as well. And I was studying and everything, basically we were like self-taught each of us. But also I started not liking music at all. I started playing music when I was 19 years old, and I'm 28 today, so that's quite that was quite a story, like moving from not liking something and now fully being invested in it. That's amazing.
Absolutely. So what jazz music did you start listening to in the beginning that really got you going?
Well, as far as jazz music, there's this guy, he's from Cameroon, and he's mostly located in New York right now. His name is Richard Bona, and most of people, or even every musician, I would dare saying every musician in Cameroon knows about Richard Bona. He's a bass player, and also Etienne Bappé. He's a bass player, but he lives in Europe. And Manu Dibango is a saxophone player. He lives in Europe. And so those are the people who brought the jazz back in Cameroon. But however, they didn't bring the traditional jazz. They mostly brought the Afro jazz and the fusion jazz and kind of a funk jazz as well. So we kind of having a mixture of Afro and fusion jazz back in Cameroon and in Africa. So people basically take the rhythms of Africa and create jazz with it. So that's how I started being exposed to jazz. And when I started listening more and more to Etienne Bappé and Richard Bona, those two, they're bass players. So I started listening to the people they were playing around with. So it started inspiring me, and I saw the freedom in the music. So it was never the same thing. It was never based on reading just charts and reproducing what you see on the charts. So they were always going away from what they did the last time. So sometimes I would see the same song they did, but on live they would do the same song. I would watch different versions of the song, and it would always be different. And that really inspired me. And I always loved that freedom of being to go up and down wherever you want to go, how you feel about it, how the audience is responding. So those are the little things that really attracted me toward jazz. And when I came to the U.S., especially in Kansas City, I saw how people were playing traditional jazz mostly and mainly. So I started getting more and more interested about that as well. And that's where when I met Jim Mair, he started teaching me about not just playing the traditional jazz, but also knowing about the history, how jazz evolved with time.
So have you always been comfortable on stage?
At first, no. Like everything you do. I remember the first time I played, I started actually as a piano player, and then I started being more and more attracted to bass. I remember the first performance I was doing, it was on piano, and I was sweating. I practiced the two songs for it was at church. I actually grew up playing church music, and I practiced the two songs we were supposed to do for an entire week, and I believe I was ready. And yeah, sure, I made a couple of mistakes, but it wasn't whoa. But I remember sweating all over the place, and when I got done, I felt great about it. And when I kept performing more and more, I felt more and more confident about doing it all the time. So yeah, I am comfortable being on any stages now, but I didn't start like that, if that's the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's it. So would you say Jim Mair is a big mentor to you, or who would you say is a mentor that's really given you quite a bit for your jazz backbone?
Jim Mair definitely is. He's the first one, and he's when I went to KCC, I remember I asked him, hey, can I come and just enjoy the class? He said, yeah, definitely. So I came there. I had a bunch of questions in my notes. I didn't let him break for an entire semester. I was in his office every day asking him questions, and we were just sitting down, and he was debating about the questions, giving me tips, telling me what people are really looking out there from a bass player, how, when you do things, the audience is going to respond. And so he's a really, really great mentor of mine. And as I went along, I started, the first bass player in town he introduced me to was James Albright. And James also, I saw James playing upright bass. I wasn't playing upright at the time. I started playing upright 2.5 years ago. And that's how James Albright started introducing me to upright bass as well. and different ways of approaching music, because I was mostly about Jaco Pastorius, like all those 16 notes and craziness and fast things, and that's why they had to put me down and explain better to me what music is about. Music is not about just yourself; it's also about other people. A bass player is meant to helping people sounding good. The time, the feel, and the groove, those are really three important elements. And then the other things are coming later on. So from there, he started introducing me to more and more people like Tim Whitmer. And I also played with Bassist Nsikoh for quite a while. And from there, I started by playing with other people. Some people, when they would come and see the music, they would see me playing. They would take my business card and calling me later. And that's how I started making different relationship out here in Kansas City. But Jim Mair is my main mentor because he has taught me a lot, and I've been learning a lot by myself as well and from other people. But I always go back to him because it's not just about the music he taught me. It's also about the way of living. I love the way he's such an example of a great dad, of a great brother, of a great mentor, as a great teacher, as a great friend as well. So he has those characteristics too that are really important for somebody in life.
Speaking of live, what was one of the first live jazz shows you ever saw that really inspired you?
Here in Kansas City, it was at the Blue Room. My brother and I, we went to the Blue Room and we saw Charles Williams. He was playing with a singer. I forgot the name of the bass player. The bass player was really impressive. He was young at the time. That was like probably 5 years ago. And he really inspired me by the way he was making the music feel, and whenever he was taking a solo, he was just blowing my mind. Because at the time I didn't know how to solo. So that was very impressive for me. Yeah, it was at the Blue Room, and that was the first night I met Charles Williams, and we talked as well. And yeah, that was beyond expectations, and it really inspired me to practice even more, to making more research and going deeper than what I was doing.
So what do you like best about being a part of not only Kansas City, but the jazz scene here?
Kansas, that's a great question. I might step away from the question, but Kansas City, I actually moved up here because of jazz. And when I came here, seeing how Kansas City welcomed me, it's such a blessing. But I don't feel like being a part, like this town like really took me in, and I'm so very thankful about it. I don't know if that answers the question. I don't feel like I'm a stranger anymore. I've never felt like that beginning.
That's great. That's a great answer. So why do you like jazz so much? What do you love about it?
Like I said earlier, the freedom, and also I love the way sometimes some tunes are so difficult and you need to analyze it to better understand. I love the way the melodies are going inside the changes and how things, you have to sometimes step away and watch the thing from a different angle to better understand the overall of the structure. So it's not just something like mathematics. To me, jazz is like an ensemble of many things: science, math, psychology, everything else. So that's why you always have different ways of soloing the same tune. Like different people have a different approach of a song. And I love it about it. I love the way it evolves with time. I love the way it always finds its way through time to make it happen. Today we have funk, fusion jazz, metal jazz, Afro jazz. I don't think it's a music that's dying also. That's what I love about it. And I love the fact that it's actually a music that's just sleeping right now. And I believe it's going to, boom sometime coming in the future again. Maybe not our generations, but it's going to come back and just explode all over the way, everywhere. And it's just going to be amazing again. Probably not like during the 20s and the 40s, but who knows, maybe even better than that. Because that music, it's always evolving because of the people who are going through with it, and you have different type of jazz as well, listening, studying, when you go out to have a good time, dancing jazz, very, very analytic type of jazz as well, fast, slow, anything about it you have about jazz. It's not static like other type of music, like for example pop music. It's a kind of dancing music, kind of happy music. That funk is kind of happy dancing music as well. If you listen to country music, just story. But jazz, it's everything. Like you can take jazz and make everything out of it. So it's like salt in the food. Some people don't eat salt. I don't argue with that. But imagine you serving food without salt. That's how jazz to me is.
Right on. I love that answer. So everything's going to come down to this. Everyone has their perception of you or who they think you are. Your family, your friends, your fans, but you know yourself. You live your life. Who do you think you are?
I am actually on the path of self-discovery, and I even recently earned my mentorship from people who are really great leaders and also financially free in their lives. More importantly, what they're teaching me is the way of living highly successful habits. So I am developing right now habits that are going to help me to become even more successful than what I can think or believe that I can be. Who do I think I am? I am a future dad. I am a future husband. I am a great friend. I am a great mentor as well. I am a great performer. I'm not saying that in a way of like I am, whatever I am, but in a way that I am humble about it, and I believe I can do all those great things. I believe that I am somebody who's here to serve. I know my purpose in life. I know my goal in life, and I have many goals I am working on achieving as well. Music is not just the only thing I'm doing. I definitely going to raise a business, and also I am a public speaker. I started becoming a public speaker last semester at my school, and I have a coach who's helping me developing that skill as well. And right after I will be graduating from KCKCC, I'll be focusing also on developing that skill. And also I have a podcast that I'm running, and it's amazing. It's also about Kansas City musicians, and I love what you're doing already, Joe. It's amazing. It's incredible. And as far as everything else, I just want to become the best version of myself that I was yesterday. So every day I wake up, I'm always like, what am I going to be learning today? As far as all the skills, all the projects I'm working on, as far as anything else, what can I improve from yesterday I've been doing? I hope that answers the question.
It did, and you answered everything beautifully. Hey, thank you for what you're doing for Kansas City. Thank you for the music. I'm looking forward to seeing you more live and the album that comes out. So again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Africa, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Nsikoh for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.